Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I have been experimenting with my little man here, the first one we have ever made in this world, and I have to say, this is amazing. The possibilities of using these little guys is practically endless. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a bonkers idea of something I want to build using these copper golems in this new Minecraft version. It has been a while and I really want to get started doing this. So ladies and gentlemen, can we please play the intro? Ladies and gentlemen, this is our storage system. And this is a build that I have built quite a while ago, but to this day, it is one of the builds in this world that... Oh my god, you have a spear. That's also a new thing. I want to look at you as well, but let me focus on my storage system because I was doing my thing. Right, so to this day, this is one of the builds in my world that I am most proud of. Like, this is one of the best builds in my world, in my opinion, because it's just good in every way I can think of. It's the right size that I need it to be. It just feels nice to walk around in it. I really like the style. It's kind of colorful. There is a lot of oak, but it's somehow diverse enough that it's not too much, in my opinion. It just works. It does exactly what I envisioned it to do when I built it. But at the time when I built this, if you would have asked me, are you going to automate this so it automatically sorts your stuff into the appropriate chests, I would have probably declared you mad. Because if you look at the size of this thing right now, you can probably tell such a thing would have been huge. But now we have copper golems, and I think there is a possibility that we can make this thing automatically sort everything that we want it to sort. And somehow I have thought of everything ahead of time, and we have these barrels here. And I think what we can do is we can make something that when we put stuff in these barrels, it automatically gets like processed and sorted into the appropriate chests. But before we begin, I would like to really focus on how insane the idea of making this auto sort actually is. Because as you can see, our storage system is like a plus shape. But in the corners of our plus shape, there are things built there. Especially like over here on the left. This is going to be the most difficult side. Because over here we have a sugarcane farm, and this is like in the corner of our plus. And then on the opposite side, over there, in that area, there is an iron golem farm. And even with those constraints, I think it is possible to do it. I think we can make this thing work using copper golems, and I think we can make the thing automatically sort our stuff. But that is going to be a very big project, so we have to get started, or otherwise this video will go on forever. Let's just get started. I think we best start with the most difficult side of them all, and that is this sugarcane farm. So if we press this button, we open up a weird thing here, and we can access the redstone of this sugarcane farm. So what we have here, let me orient myself. Yeah, so above these wool is the chests of our storage system. And these, I think, are like the back. So now we have access to the back of our chests here. In order to make this work, I think we always have to put hoppers like this, right? Now let's remove them so we have space to work here. The big problem with that is that we can't really do much redstone like directly next to this, because if this redstone is powered, that will lock the hoppers and prevent our items from flowing into the chests. So I ideally, we would figure out a way to do the redstone of the sugarcane farm without messing up the hoppers. And that is probably the most difficult part of this entire process. So let me try out some things. I have some ideas. So maybe we can remove some of this wool and move some of the redstone of the sugarcane farm up top, maybe? We'll see. Oh, maybe the backside is going to be a bigger problem, because over here we use a bubble elevator to get our sugarcane up to the hoppers for the sugarcane farm. And the blocks are... Ooh, this is not looking good, ladies and gentlemen. This is not looking good. We really have to squeeze everything together here. Oh my god. Wait, if we move it like over to this spot, then what? Maybe that will work. Oh dear. Oh, this is going to be a head scratcher. I can already tell in advance. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I can say that I have basically figured out the biggest problems that I had to solve in order to make this work. So I rewired the redstone for the sugarcane farm down there, and I have hooked up some hoppers and barrels to the chests in the storage system. That is basically what we are looking at right here. So we are looking at a big row of barrels here. Basically what that does is if we put like items in these barrels, then they will funnel down and end up in the chests of our storage system. So each barrel here corresponds to a column of chests down below. Let's actually go there so I can show you that. I inserted some redstone, so we should find that in our storage system somewhere. I think I put it in this first column here. Oh yeah, that's one downside of doing this. This bottom chest is full, so it cannot enter. We have to really align our cursor. There they are. So if there was like an empty spot, our redstone would end up in this chest. Now, the functionality of the sugarcane farm is still exactly the same as it was before, I think. I haven't actually thoroughly tested this, but I do think everything should work exactly as it did before. And I had to get a little bit creative. So in some places I had to use stuff with glass to really make sure that we never power any of the hoppers in an unintended way. But the remaining parts of the redstone are essentially the same, I think. I actually was really confused when remaking this, because there are like certain things in the redstone of the sugarcane farm that I actually made really complex the first time. And I simplified them, and that made them work. So if we jump down here, so now we have a redstone wire running on top of the observers. That is the thing to force the farm to be off. And earlier we did something really complex instead of that, and I am stuck right now. Can I fix this? Like that, and there was a redstone on top of it. There we go. So now let's leave this hole, and yeah, now we have to dig some space to do the same thing on the other sides, and then we have to figure out how to actually technically do this using the copper golems. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I have dug out a considerable space here, which I think will be a fair start to work with here. I think we might need more eventually, but we can start building some things with this already. This didn't take very long because parts of this were already excavated on this side, and we have a haste to begin. Now I think we have to install basically more of these hopper and barrel things everywhere. But before that, I think I should explain to you the idea of what we are going to build here. So let's demonstrate the idea of how we are going to make the storage system automatically sort our items. So I have set up a very basic version of what I have in mind here that we are going to use to make this guy sort our items. So on the top we have a chest with a bunch of items in it, and this is essentially an item filter. So we have a hopper here that is powered by a torch, and that means that it will not make items go through. And that is this hopper is locked for as long as there is less than a certain amount of items in this chest. Basically what that does is it forces a minimal amount of items to be in this chest at all times. So if we put something in here, that will unlock this hopper and it will make items go through. Now, this is great because this means that we can sort of have a set of items in here at all times. And as long as we keep putting things in this first slot, then the hopper will always remove these items first and keep all the items we have in here. It will keep them in this chest, which is great because that is what we want. Because the way a copper golem works is he will pick up items from this chest, and then he'll look for chests in the area, and he'll try to see if the item he is holding matches anything in here, and if it does, he'll put it in. And he'll always put it in the first slot, and that's kind of crucial, because that means that we can use a circuit like this to filter out a set of items that we specify over here. So right now we are filtering on yellow wool, orange wool, red wool, and shears. Cool thing about this is this system works with non-stackable items. So if we give this guy some shears, some of this, and I don't know, the yellow wool, he will make the shears go in here. Yeah, so we put them in, and yeah, that's gets sucked up by the hopper. One downside of this very simple design I have here is there's always one item stuck in the hopper here. But there are ways to fix that. I'm not going to go too into detail how to do that exactly. But the way this works is you have a comparator measuring how much stuff is in this chest. And then we have a redstone wire of length 2. And then we pull the redstone signal using a repeater to a torch that powers this hopper. Basically what happens is if we put in stuff, then the strength of this redstone power will be high enough that it will also power this second redstone dust, and it will unlock the hopper. And basically we do this over and over and over again until we have sorted out all the items that we want to sort out. And that's the main idea. So I have essentially built a chain of barrels and hoppers that funnel into the chests of our storage system. And the way I've done it is so that for every barrel we have on the top here, essentially it corresponds to a column of chests in our storage system. And this is nice because this is actually what we want, because that means that for every barrel, whatever we put in here flows into the column of chests that we want to fill eventually. So now we only have to control what items go inside of these barrels. And to do that, we use the redstone that I just showed you. Though this is not an exact copy, but the functionality is exactly the same as what I just explained to you. So over here we have a thing like this, and then we have a chest with items over here. And then, for example, right now we are filtering out dark oak logs, and if we put in more, they will go down this system, and they will end up in the chests in our storage system. So if we now go down, if I am able to, yes. So if we now go down here and go to look at the corresponding chest to those barrels that I've just put stuff in, then it didn't end up in this chest because this chest is full, but it did end up in the hopper behind it. So eventually it will make its way through. And that is exactly the way I want it to be. Now, what remains is we have to copy this small redstone part over and over again. And we have to do so with something in mind, and that is that somehow the copper golems that we are going to use are going to have to be able to access this chest. So maybe we have to keep in mind that this block will be visible. I'm not entirely sure at this point, but I am going to try and build something here. And I guess right now there will be a big cut, and after this cut there will be a lot of progress at once. Oh, so I was just thinking carefully about what I should and should not consider when building this before I actually just started repetitively placing down the blocks. That is important because if you make a mistake like this and just copy it over and over and over, that's going to be a pain to clear up afterwards. And I actually thought of something else we have to keep in mind while building this. And that is that copper golems have a maximal amount of chests they can check to get rid of the items they are holding. That is important because we are going to rely on copper golems to insert items in here. And obviously we are going to use way more chests than a single copper golem can actually control. So that means that we have to somehow divide our chests up into sections. And that's actually important how we do that, because first of all, we have to keep in mind that a copper golem, I believe, can check at most 10 chests at a time. And also because we have to keep in mind that the items have to flow through the whole system. Because if a single copper golem has checked its chest, it has to somehow pass its items to the next copper golem, and then it has to flow through the entire thing. And that is not obvious, actually, because we have to bring our items up somewhere. And we are... It might not look like that, but we are kind of limited in space. Because we are going to fill all of this area we are standing in right now with redstone. And I assume the copper golems are going to sit above the chests. And then somehow we still have to make a system to make the items flow through the thing. So, oh my god, I am seeing a lot of complexity here. I think it's good. I think I can just start placing down blocks. I think I have something in mind that might work. Okay, I have built quite a lot of stuff here, and I feel like right now is a good moment to get you, the audience, back up to date as to what I did. I think the best place to start is over here, like inside of the thing. So these hopper and barrel things we already had, and now I just installed these item filter redstone things with the double chest on the top for each and every one of the columns of chests in our storage system. And then next up, I think it's easiest to explain on the top here what I did. So we are going to have copper golems running around here, and in building this, so when I had the chests in place, I kind of figured that it would be nice if we could somehow see these copper golems. And I considered for a while how to do this exactly, and I think I figured it out. So what we can do is we can dig up or dig down from the surface up to here. And basically have a room above this with a glass floor so we can look into all of the things that we have built here. The idea of what we have built here is that we are going to have a copper golem in each of these like sections. I don't know how to describe them. And they have a copper chest on one end and a regular chest on the other. And then in the middle, they have the 3 chests that correspond to the 3 rows in the storage system that they are going to sort items for. So they're going to take their items out of here. They're going to check if they fit in these columns. And then if they don't, they pass it on to the next copper golem. And that means that we had to chain all of these little sections in a long chain, starting in that corner over there somewhere. We'll get to that in a moment. And that was actually surprisingly difficult. And the reason it was surprisingly difficult is because of these middle sections. So the problem here is that we don't really have space to put this chest like one higher and then move it to another thing. Like, it was just a mess to route all of the items in one long chain across the thing, but I managed to do so, and the end and start are over there. Next up, I feel like we should dig from the surface to over here, so we just have a hole now. And then I just started digging a big hole right above my storage system, just to give us some space to work with, so I don't hit my head every time I go up on the system. And there was a couple things here in this time lapse that I want to focus your attention on. First of all, when it got dark, there was a lot of mob spawning because I have lit up all the caves in the area, so every dark spot is immediately swarmed by all the monsters. And secondly, look at how big this is. Like, I couldn't really like measure mentally how big my storage system would actually be in this area if I transported it up to the surface, but the size of this hole really puts things into perspective. Anyway, let's continue the video. Okay, so next up, I have to make the walls of each of these compartments more taller, so that the copper golems cannot like escape the place they are supposed to work in. And why does it always rain when I start recording? That is one of the reasons I made an underground base, and now we still have to deal with this. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of wood chopping and block placing later we arrive at this. And right here I feel like I want to take a break from this project, because right now we have arrived at a very annoying step, perhaps the most annoying step of this project. So what we have right now is we have all of these little like containment chambers for the copper golem, and we already have a copper block placed down. We just have to add a carved pumpkin to get a copper chest and a copper golem. But before I let the copper golems loose, we have to do the most annoying thing, as I was announcing, and that is essentially collect one of everything, because inside of these chests I have to specify what the items are that these copper golems should filter. And that's annoying for 2 reasons. First reason is you're trying to collect as many items as possible, so that immediately fills up your inventory. And, you know, that means you have to walk back and forth, and, you know, that's just not very fun. Yes, and I'm not going to do that today. I feel like I might actually want to do that in the next episode. Now, I first want to focus our attention to this thing. This is the ceiling of our storage system, and if we go in here, we fall down, and you can see the beautiful ceiling that we have built a long time ago. And right now, thinking about the way things look and things are oriented and placed, I actually feel like it's due for an update. So the things that I have built here, as I maybe have explained earlier, I kind of designed them in such a way that I want to place glass right here at the level we are walking. So that we can like walk over top of the copper golems and see them do their job. And then where we are right now, above here, we built a big giant building. So this will be maybe the entrance to something. I don't know. Maybe over there we can go inside of the mountain. There are a lot of possibilities here. But one thing I know for sure, and that is, I don't think I can make that work with this splash of different blocks that we have in the middle here. So I feel like I want to remove this and somehow update it into something new. Good news is, the building that we are standing in right now, or, well, the future building that we are standing in right now, also will have a ceiling. So maybe we can do a very similar design, but then bigger than the ceiling of this building. We'll see that once we start building that. But I think we have to start by removing this. This is already kind of illustrating the exact problem I have with collecting one of everything to set the item filters. Like, I have just destroyed all the blocks, my inventory is full, and there's still like so many things on the ground. Like, let's hope that putting everything in our ender chest actually fixes it and I can pick everything up. I highly doubt it, actually. Maybe we can get like half the way through. Luckily, we can easily go to our storage system here. Yeah, we're already full. Yeah, so let me clean up this mess and I'll get you back when I have an idea on what I want to build there instead now. Alright, it's all coming together. Ladies and gentlemen, I love building this thing because to this day, the storage system that is right below this is still one of the builds in my world that I am most proud of. Because in my opinion, I just nailed the look and feel of that build. It just feels like grand as I wanted it to feel. And today, I get to extend that feeling by extending the build to this place. And what we have here is I've already placed in some walkways where, you know, I intend to walk in the future. Now, it is also possible in the future to walk over these places because we are going to fill these in with glass so we can walk over top the copper golems. But we are not going to do that today because I feel like if I place in the glass right now, that might make organizing the chests and doing the copper golem stuff very annoying in the future. So we are going to do that after we get the copper golems in the place they have to be. Now, I've already started constructing some pillars. These I already had in mind when building these containment cells, so those are not too interesting to talk about. But the hole right here is interesting to talk about. I think it is very good to have a hole here with future compatibility in mind, because at some point, I suppose we are going to the end and we are going to obtain ourselves some wings. And that means that it is very convenient to have a hole in your storage system to just drop in quickly so you can access your stuff and exit through the hole quickly as well. I decided to use some of the, how do you describe those blocks? Precious blocks that we also use all over the floor in our storage system to sort of extend the theme that we have going on here. Though I did use a darker wood type to definitely break it up from the room we are standing in right now. And I actually kind of like the way this looks. I think we are on the right track now. Next up, I want to do something maybe a little bit weird to some of you. But I want to dig into the wall. So if we look over there at that end of the walkway that I have designed here, it goes towards the mountain. And if my calculations are correct, digging straight that way and maybe a little bit to the right will lead us to a very nice place to connect to. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I did not have to dig that deep to actually encounter the place that I was looking for. So as you can see, we nicely connect to the top area of this big old room that we have been focusing on a lot lately. And, you know, I think it would be great if we make this pathway here a good connection to this area. Sadly, we have to deal with a 1 block height difference here, but I don't think that will be too hard to deal with. There are a couple more pressing problems here, however, and that is we are building a building here, and that is inside of the mountain. So connecting those is a bit strange, a bit weird. I think the best course of action actually is to do terraforming and make the mountains sort of connect to the building. If you don't see it, don't worry, that is stuff that will happen at some points. For now, I think I'm just going to try and do the floor here a little bit more appropriate. But even like the door like structure, I think I'm going to leave for later because I have no clue what I want to build in this building at this point in time. And I feel like this side is going to be the important side, and this inside is going to be the easy side to do. Oh dear, I just checked the length of this video, and it turns out we have to wrap up. The video is the length I want my videos to be. I aim for around half an hour, and we are over half an hour, and I prefer being shorter rather than longer. So ladies and gentlemen, sadly, we have come to the end of the episode. I just quickly botched together something here. I couldn't really think of anything better. I feel like this is fine on this side, but then on this side I'm like, not really convinced about it. I feel like I have to sleep on it and really think this through. I think it will be a lot easier if we figure out how this building is going to look. Though it is a little bit trippy actually, because if we go over here you can like look into the cave, and that is weird to me, but also kind of awesome, so I kind of want to keep that. Anyway, let's end this video for real now. I would like to thank everyone for watching, especially if you watched all the way till the end. With the end of an episode of the Let's Play series, there also comes the fact of the video. And the fact of episode 38 is that the chainsaw was invented in the context of women giving childbirth. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope I can see you in the next episode, and as always, keep wondering.